This is the Sunday every year that we call Consecration Sunday. To some, it's Money Sunday. To some, it's Blood Card Sunday. But in this moment, it's Consecration Sunday. Because our mission is clear. Let it be known that our mission, which I hope rolls off of every person's tongue whenever they're asked, what is the mission of your church? It's in the bulletin, it's in the newsletter, it's on the power, it is everywhere but spray painted on the side of our sanctuary walls. Oh, there's an idea. Our mission is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world, period. And I hope and pray that all of us understand that is our only mission, to make disciples. And if what we do and do not do is not part of that mission, we need to be called out. Because our only mission is to make disciples. So on this Consecration Sunday, on this Sunday that many of you have prayed over your investment into the new year, I'd like to talk just a little bit about that mission. Just a little bit about stewardship. And I'd like to talk this morning about the difference between how healthy churches do it and how unhealthy churches do this thing. Because there is a huge difference. I'd like to outline a few ways. You see, in healthy churches, in growing churches, and please understand, friends, and I hear it from you all the time, and I'm thankful for it, we are bucking the trend. The trend moves now to closing churches and wilting congregations and less ministry. That's not happening here, praise God. You see, in healthy churches, they talk more about ministry than they do money. Now, never done this. I'm going to say something, and then I am going to pause for 10 seconds for eye rolling, for hitting your neighbor, going like this. I'll give 10 seconds. I have served you coming up on 5.5 years. And I am proud that I have never, ever asked for money. Never have. Oh, I've asked dozens and going on thousands and thousands of times inviting you to ministry. Ways in which you can become involved and contribute your time, your talents, your gifts, and your treasures. Many of us went through what was called hand-to-plow training many years ago, a few years ago, and I still take from that moment, that experience we shared together in one of the books that we read, that whatever you do in your mission must answer the question so that we're doing whatever it is we're doing so that we can make disciples of Jesus Christ. We have children's church so that we can make disciples of young kids. We have Twigs youth groups so that we can make disciples of the youth. We have Bible studies. We have classes so that we can make disciples of Jesus Christ. We worship so that we can make disciples of Jesus Christ. And if something doesn't fit the so that, it needs to be questioned. You see, it's always about inviting you to ministry. You know, I would shake my head if I was a new person coming to any church and I sat through that worship experience And nowhere in that worship experience did they talk about any way I could connect. And that would make my head spin. I can't connect in any way. That's what it's about, friends. It's about ministry. It's not about money. I came across this many years ago, and I had to get cobwebs off this thing. I got this thing back in 2001. And I'm going to share it with you. It's not my words. It's the words of Reverend Steve Rogers from the First Methodist Church in Panhandle, Texas, when he took his congregation to a consecration Sunday. And he shared this. I will quote him. Sometimes you hear people say the church is always asking for money. That statement is profoundly untrue. It is the world that is always asking for money, not your church. When did you go to this grocery store and the checker failed to ask you for money? Your mortgage company asks you for money on failing regularity. If you are like most people, each month brings a new collection of bills. Are any of them from your church? Who withholds a percentage of every dollar you earn? Your uncle does, not your father. There's no free lunch, except the church. You can attend worship every week. There's no admission charge. Hundreds of people receive a newsletter each month. None receive a subscription notice. The church building will always be there when you need it. Clean, heated, kitchen, and nursery. You have to pay taxes to provide your children free public education. But your church operates a church school, Sunday school, children's church, which will give you a quality Christian education with absolutely no cost or obligation. The church requires no membership fee or annual dues. It never sends a member a bill. Is there any other organization in the world that functions that way? I do not know of one. You see, the truth is, the church asks for money less than anything else you can think of. Healthy churches talk about ministry. Unhealthy churches talk about debt. Talk about budgets. Here we talk about ministry. But secondly, healthy churches invest in people. Unhealthy churches give to a budget. I am so thrilled that I hear this more and more and more. The Church of Jesus Christ exists for those who are not here. Man, once you get that, the Church of Jesus Christ doesn't exist for us that are here. Now, yes, because we are here, we have fellowship, we have worship, we have ministry opportunities, we have all kinds of blessings because we are here, but that is not why we exist. We exist for those that are not here. So we make and deepen spirituality and discipleship within us so that we can go out and find others and invite them to be a disciple. Think about that. We exist for the children that aren't here yet, for the youth that aren't here, for the adults that are not here. That's why I said in my Thanksgiving letter, I'm not giving to a budget anymore. Flush that thing down the toilet. I don't care. But I will invest in people. It's about investing in people, not a budget. Healthy churches talk about ministry. Healthy churches invest. But healthy churches also talk about sin and goodness, not just goodness. Let me ask a question. If Jesus himself talked about something that he felt derails people more than anything else, that leads people into temptation more than anything else, if in Jesus' own words he just said that this thing, if it's not the greatest, it's on the top two, wouldn't it seem a bit odd if the pastor didn't talk about that? If Jesus says, this is the one thing that's going to lead you into temptation, that's going to be your Achilles heel, that's going to maybe bring you down a road you don't want to go, and the pastor never talks about it? As a matter of fact, not only Jesus talked about it, Paul, throughout his letter, talks about it. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement, has sermon after sermon about it. Wouldn't it seem odd if the spiritual leader didn't talk about it? Oh, by the way, it's money. Treasures. Jesus talks more about that than he does prayer and forgiveness combined. Billy Graham once said this: the last thing to ever be converted is one's wealth. The last thing to ever be converted. I had the extreme honor and privilege about a month ago to spend some time with the author of this book, Cliff Christopher. I spent a day and a half with him. He penned this book. It's called Not Your Parents' Offering Plate. And every member of the finance team is going to receive a copy of this. If you want a copy of it, please let me know and I'll order some more. He is kind of the stewardship guru of the United Methodist Church. And along this idea of talking about sin and goodness, I'd like to just share a brief story he writes in this book. Many of my clergy friends have heard the joke of the young seminarian beginning his ministry at his first church. After his initial sermon where he preached against tobacco use, one of his lay leaders took him aside to remind him that he was preaching in Kentucky, and tobacco was loved by many a farmer, and that he shouldn't preach on tobacco. The next Sunday, the seminarian chose to preach against hard liquor. Again, the layman took him aside and reminded him that he was in Kentucky and many of his members worked at a local distillery. His third sermon dealt with gambling, especially horse racing. Once again, the layman came to the seminarian and said he could not preach on that either. After all, had he not heard about the Kentucky Derby? Finally, exasperated, he asked a helpful layman, well, what can I talk about? His reply was, next Sunday, why don't you preach on the evils of voodoo in Haiti? Everyone will love that. As long as it's not my sin, go ahead and talk about it. No, Jesus, the very words of Jesus confronts our relationship with our wealth. And healthy churches see ministry. They see investing in people. They see both the sin and goodness of money. But next, healthy churches talk about total stewardship rather than partial stewardship. All that we've done over the last 2 months has led us to this moment. The offering boxes has led us to this moment. To understand that we need to make available to people the essence that giving is 24/7, not done every 7 days for 15 seconds as the offering plate goes by. But stewardship is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week responsibility. And in so doing, we've been a bit bold, we've been a little risk-taking to understand there are all different kinds of giving. From the text giving, there'll be somebody at the Welcome Center. If you want to give by a credit card, there's offering boxes all over. There's all kinds of ways to give. But here's the rub. I have heard more sermons on tithing. That's not a bad thing. But understand that tithing and first fruits are always connected. It was always, if the command was to tithe, it was to tithe the first fruit, not what's left over. And so our expansion of giving is a constant encouragement for all of us to make it the first fruits. Let's just get it done. And what we do in those 23 remaining hours of the day, the other 6 days of the week, help us respond faithfully as good stewards as to where our money goes. Because stewardship is 24/7. Not on Sunday morning for 15 seconds. Healthy churches talk about ministry. They invest in people. They talk about sin and goodness. They understand the totality of stewardship. But finally, healthy churches make it about Jesus and not the church. I think I am paraphrasing this correctly, but Matthew 28 does not say, go there out into the world and balance the church budget. I think I read that correctly. No, it's go therefore ye out into the world and make disciples. Through the life of Jesus, we make disciples so that we might transform this world. Healthy churches make the main thing the main thing. And my dear friends, the main thing is Jesus and Jesus alone. Let us pray. Wonderful God, in this moment we give you thanks for all those gathered here this morning, for their generosity, for their giving spirits. But Lord God, I also give you thanks for the depth of the spirituality that always goes deeper. To understand that we were first loved, and so we share that love with you and with others. That our giving isn't merely a nice thing to do or help us sleep at night, but it is a response to an enduring, amazing grace. A grace that we shared with James. A grace that we share with Debbie this morning. A grace through whose lives are changed. May we embrace this mission and celebration. A mission to make disciples of Jesus Christ in everything we think, say, and do, so that we might make disciples of Jesus Christ, in whose name we pray.